Good morning, students. Welcome to Travel and Tourism class day 1. Before we begin, I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you. Welcome to class 12 students. Please listen and make notes. Research on the question given at the end of this presentation. Students, do not refer to Wikipedia. I want you to explore and come up with new and innovative ideas. You have to mail your answers to the given email ID. Students, follow the deadline. All the points that are in this presentation have to be learnt, as they can be used as 1-mark questions. Students, everything that I've mentioned in this PPT has to be learnt. I put it in the form of fill in the blanks so that it is easy for you to remember. The first topic of the day is evolution of travel business. When we use the term evolution, we are trying to trace how the travel industry has become successful, how it was in the earlier days, and how it has transformed itself to be a very successful business, right? The first point here is that there were travel middlemen who helped the merchants traveling for trade and others who traveled for religious purposes. In the earlier days, there were people who were traveling for two reasons: religious purpose and trade. The travel middlemen were the people who helped them to make the arrangements so that they could travel. In the year 1670, the Grand Tour concept was developed especially for educational purposes. So children, you know that people in the earlier times would travel for three reasons: education, trade, and religious. You all have studied about the Grand Tour in class 11, where you have learnt that the Grand Tour initially started for educational purposes. People in Europe and England would travel back and forth to know more about a certain place, to get better education in a different place. But later on, the Grand Tour was more of a status symbol, and people traveled uh, in this Grand Tour to enjoy themselves, and it was more of a leisure tour. In the year 1730, health experts suggested that seawater is found to be useful to cure many diseases. Many resorts were established around the English coast to attract visitors seeking to cure themselves by sea water. In 1815, steamboat services were introduced from London to Gravesend. In the year 1820, European cultural centres were opened to British travellers. The rail link was introduced between Liverpool and Manchester in the year 1830. In 1838, Peninsular and Orient Steam Company introduced steamship service to India and the Far East. Children, they can ask you a 1-mark question like this: in which year did the Peninsular and Orient Company introduce steamship service to India and the Far East? So they can give you 2-3 options like 1835, 1834, 1943 or 1620. You should be able to answer 1838. Moving on. The 2008 marks the 250th anniversary of Coxon Kings, the longest established travel company in the world. This can also come as a 1-mark question, children. Please name the company which is the longest established travel company in the world. You should be able to answer, that is Coxon Kings. And the founder of that company is Richard Cox. Now, the world's first travel agency was set up in 1845 to organize excursions. Thomas Cook is known as the father of the travel agency business. They can ask you who is the father of the travel agency business. You should be able to answer this, children. It's Thomas Cook. In 1855, Thomas Cook started operating package tours. Thomas Cook conducted the world's first international tour from England to Paris, and this was an inclusive tour. Children, they can ask you another question like this. The world's first international tour was a package tour, inclusive tour, group tour. You should be able to answer that it is an inclusive tour. Now, Henry Wells in the US. In the year 1841, Henry Wells started his freight business in the USA. Now, children, you need to remember that Thomas Cook is an important person in the travel industry in England, and Henry Wells is an important person in the travel industry in the US. Let's understand this. Thomas Cook, his company is a British company, and the name of the company is Thomas Cook and Sons. In 1870, he introduced two systems, traveler check and hotel voucher. Henry Wells, on the other hand, is a US person, and his US company name is the American Express. So Henry Wells is from the US. In 1870, he also introduced two systems, traveler check and credit card. Children, please remember American Express, credit card. All right. So you need to link both of those. Even now we have the American Express credit card, right? Why were these systems introduced? The two systems introduced by Thomas Cook, traveler check and hotel voucher, and the two systems by Henry Wells, traveler check and credit card, was so that people don't need to pay in cash. If they want to go on a trip, if they want to pay for a trip, they can use these four systems to pay for the trip. They don't need to pay in cash. All right. Now, moving ahead, there were some Indian companies also. Gina & Co. in 1920 was the first Indian travel agency that organized group tours abroad and in India for Indian travelers. Lee and Murid India, N. Jamna Das & Co. and a travel company named SITA was established in 1963. Children, this is very important. They can ask you name an Indian travel company that was established in 1963. You should be able to answer SITA. They can also ask you to name the four Indian companies. All right. So you should be able to answer Gina & Co, Lee and Murid India, Jamna Das & Co, and SITA. Also the full form of TCI, Travel Corporation of India. Children, while I was checking your papers, your class 11 papers, one error that I found that most of you were doing is not remembering the definitions, not remembering the correct spellings of the names, and like there was this question that I had asked, Travel Agents Association of India, TAI. Most of you came up with the wrong answer, or you spelled agents wrong, or you made some minor error. Children, I want to tell you, if there is a definition, please make sure that you learn the correct definition word by word. If you miss out the keyword, you will miss out on the marks. And if it's a 1 mark question where you have to write, say for example, the full form of TCI, most of you would write Travels Corporations of India Limited. No, it's Travel Corporation of India Limited. T has to be capital, C has to be capital, I has to be capital. Children, these are little errors that you make and you miss out on your 1 mark. So please, as you sit down to learn, please write and learn, and please make sure that you learn the correct spellings. Now, the question of the day. Let's find out. Explore more about Thomas Cook and explain how Thomas Cook played a key role in the evolution of travel business. Children, I don't want you to look up to Wikipedia. Please make sure that you do your research well, that you come up with innovative, good points. And your deadline is 3rd April. So hope you enjoyed this class, children. I look forward for your answers, and I also look forward to meeting you in the next class. For now, take care.